To hit flow state, those three things need to intersect all at the same time. A lot of you guys have hit flow state accidentally. Like if you played a video game, there's been moments where you're like, dang, I am currently the best player in the lobby, and this version of me for this 30 seconds might be able to compete professionally versus the best. And you're not wrong, you're in a state of flow. So today, guys, we are going to be talking about how to enter the flow state. Now, if you guys have seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the main character, Aang, he was able to enter what was called the Avatar state. The Avatar state is a direct representation of the flow state. So one thing, if you notice, if you've watched the show, he didn't gain new abilities. He didn't get new powers. He was able to use what he already had, and he was able to blend his abilities in seamlessly, effortlessly. In other words, if you can tap into the flow state, guys, you will become hyper efficient in the moment that you are using it. So who doesn't want to hit the flow state? I'm going to be teaching you guys exactly how to do that. And the reason why I'm able to teach you guys is when it comes to my videos, guys, a lot of people don't realize I have to hit a state of flow to make the type of videos that I make. I record out in public. There's plenty of distractions. There's always something going on, and I don't record with a script. Most of the time my videos are one take unless something goes terribly wrong, which never really happens. So I'm making one take videos out in public with a bunch of distractions. I have to hit a state of flow. So one thing about the flow state, guys, is like everything else, it has requirements. You cannot just hit the flow state because you want to hit it. You have to be aware of the requirements to hit flow state. Now, to hit flow state, there are three main requirements. Requirement number one, you have to be aware of what your goal is, and you need feedback as you're working towards that goal. What do I mean by that? Let's say you are a basketball player. You want to hit flow state. You need to be aware of what your exact goal is. Do you want to drop 40 points? How do you want to dominate the game? Now, once you have that goal in mind, you need to receive feedback. Notice, this is why when you have teammates cheering you on, it's so important. It gets you in the flow state because that is feedback. They are giving you feedback on what you're doing. Hey man, you're dominating the game. Hey man, good job. You already got 20 points. They're giving you the feedback you need to get more immersed into that moment. The feedback can also be internal, meaning you can give it to yourself. You can just look at the scoreboard and keep track of your points. You can say, dang, I'm really dominating right now. Just anything to give you feedback on what you're doing is going to help you further immerse yourself into the moment, because the flow state is essentially about focus. If you are not in a hyper sense of focus, how are you going to achieve flow state? Think about the greatest basketball player to ever live, Michael Jordan, or one of them. Michael Jordan was so much, he would tap into the flow state to such an extent. His focus was so, it was so laser focused, his tongue would stick out. Tongue is just sticking out. Why? Because he's so focused, guys. He's so focused. So without the focus, without knowing what you want to do, and then also getting the feedback, that's the first step. The feedback is important because logically, there's two parts. Logically, you know what your goal is, but logic isn't enough to hit the flow state. You have to emotionally invest yourself to hit the flow state, and that's what the feedback gives you. Your teammates are cheering you on. You're feeling the emotions. You have to give yourself feedback so you feel emotionally invested. Now, step two, and this is very important because there's no getting past this step. To hit flow state, the task has to be just difficult enough that it requires all of your attention, the task has to be difficult enough that it requires all of your attention, straight up. It cannot be too easy because then you're not invested, you're bored. And it cannot be too hard because now you're discouraged, you have anxiety. You can't tap into the flow state if you're bored or if you have anxiety. So the task needs to be just difficult enough. This is why knowing yourself and your upper limits is so important, because if you don't know yourself enough, you're not going to know what is too challenging for you. You're not going to know what is just right for you. People who are super obsessive, right? Like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, these guys could hit flow state all the time. Why? Because they were obsessed with what they did. So they had a certain attention to detail when it came to themselves, right? So because they had this attention to detail, they knew themselves to a T. They knew what they had to do to get themselves going. They knew what would be challenging for them. So if you do a task that is just, you bit off more than you could chew, you're not going to hit flow state. You can't throw your grandma in the NBA and she's going to hit flow state and dunk on all these guys. Nah, that's not how it works. You have to put yourself in a situation where it demands just enough of your talents. For me personally, I'm going to tell you guys, it's not hard for me to record videos at my house, no distractions. It's not hard for me to record, videos with the script and say generic lines that other YouTubers do. It's not hard for me. The reason I don't do it though is because it's too boring. I'm not going to give you guys great content unless I'm challenged, and I realize that. So for me, I identified, yes, I can speak well. Certain environments are too easy for me to operate in. Let me challenge myself and see if better content comes as a result. And I believe it has. So for me, that's just an example applying to me how I create certain challenges in what I'm doing that are just enough of my skill level to put me in flow state. So you guys might not be aware right off the bat, like, hey, what is my upper limit? But this is why it's important to experiment and to slowly challenge yourself, right? It's just like if you go to the gym, like you might not know what your 1 rep max is. You might not know how much you can push one time, but that's where the experimentation and the consistency comes in. Once you get to know yourself better, it becomes very easy to create environments that are just challenging enough. And that focus that it's going to require for you to put your 100% into everything, that is what pulls you into a flow state. The third thing that is going to put you guys in a flow state, you have to be aware of the boundaries. Now, it's funny I say this because I create boundaries for myself, recording in public, obviously. But you have to be aware of boundaries such as your phone. If my phone was going off just constantly, just vibrating, I was getting calls, I didn't put it on DND, I wouldn't be able to achieve flow state and make this video on one take for you guys. I wouldn't. How am I going to do that? So minimizing the boundaries is essential, guys, because anyone who's hit flow state, right? The experience is universal. For that moment in time, you are unstoppable. LeBron was the best player in the NBA for years, right? However, there were players, they had 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes of play that exceeded his level of play. For those 3 minutes, they were better than he was because they hit a flow state. But when you hit flow state, it's such an intense level of focus that it's a fragile state of being, because once you have minor distractions, you can be pulled out of flow state. I'm not trying to jinx myself, but if someone came up behind me right now and tapped me on the shoulder, I'd be out of flow state, because to maintain flow state is to maintain hyper focus. You see what I'm saying? If you are not hyper focused because you have too many boundaries around you, and obviously you're not going to hit flow state, man. The environment is too noisy, or, you didn't get time to yourself to meditate and focus before the moment. All these things are going to impact you when it comes to achieving flow state. Because I know I record in noisy, busy environments, I purposely quiet my mind through meditation, and I take the time to prepare and mentally quiet myself so that when I am in these loud, boisterous environments, I am at peace. And it's just me versus me. My attention isn't being directed here, directed there. I am laser focused. So guys, those 3 requirements, it's a balance. It's like different strokes on a brush. To hit flow state, those 3 things need to intersect all at the same time. A lot of you guys have hit flow state accidentally. Like if you played a video game, there's been moments where you're like, dang, I am currently the best player in the lobby, and this version of me for this 30 seconds might be able to compete professionally versus the best. And you're not wrong. You're in a state of flow where all your abilities in that moment are being maximized. And we tend to hit this state by accident. We tend to hit it by just coincidence, and we're like, dang, why can't I hit flow state again? What happened to me? Am I washed up? No, you weren't aware of the requirements. I mean, yeah, if you were playing at a lower level of competition, let's say you were a high school athlete, you go up to college, you're like, dang, what's gotten into me? I can't hit flow state. Why do you think that is? Because one of the requirements is difficulty. The difficulty increased. So if you're not aware of the fact that the difficulty in the task has increased and you don't know what your upper limit is, that's why, because you're feeling too much anxiety. It's a little bit too out of reach for you to hit that state of flow. Whereas in high school, it was just challenging enough to where you could tap into your full potential. So everyone has different reasons for why they can't tap into flow state effectively, but it's up to you guys to pretty much evaluate your life and yourself and figure out, okay, what is it that's holding me back from flow state? Because if you are able to tap into this at any given moment, guys, you are going to stick out and you are going to become a very notable person in society, because not everyone is aware of flow state. They are aware of it, but maybe they don't know the requirements to get into it. But now you do. Now you do, man. Keep everything I said in mind. It's Dipsy, guys. I'm going to catch you guys later. Be on the lookout for more content, and peace out.